New this morning, Russian President Vladimir Putin met with Iranian foreign minister and called the U.S. airstrikes on Iran a, quote, absolutely unprovoked aggression.
According to the Associated Press, Putin said Russia is making efforts to provide assistance to the Iranian people. This as the strikes continue in both countries. A look at the aftermath of one of those strikes this morning.
As you can see, the skies over Tehran filled with thick black smoke.
That is a CNN reporter there moments after an airstrike hit Tehran this morning. Israel said it hit Iranian government targets. In Israel, people took shelter this morning after reports of an Iranian airstrike. And today, President Donald Trump is expected to meet with his national security team 2 days after the U.S. military launched those strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear locations.
As we just mentioned, Russian President Putin meeting with Iran's foreign minister. And now here's Julia Benbrook reporting as President Trump suggests a regime change in Iran is possible.
President Donald Trump announced that the United States attacked 3 key nuclear facilities in Iran.
Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror.
During his White House address following Operation Midnight Hammer, with Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth standing behind him, Trump warned that the U.S. could launch more strikes.
If peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill.
While the president says Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been, quote, completely and totally obliterated, a full impact assessment is still ongoing.
Final battle damage will take some time, but initial battle damage assessments indicate that all 3 sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction.
Trump's senior officials have repeatedly said the mission was not about a regime change in Iran. But in a post Sunday evening, Trump alluded to the possibility, writing, quote, it's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? Reporting at the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
This morning, cities across the United States are on high alert after the strikes on those nuclear facilities in Iran.
CBS 8's Chris Grow now live in studio with action the State Department's taking and what local leaders are saying about all of this.
Yeah, so a lot of concern that we could see a strike against Americans or a response overseas, but then also, of course, some fear of retaliation here in the States. And we have all of that covered right now, exactly how it is the government is responding. The State Department is doubling the number of emergency evacuation flights available to Americans to leave Israel. They've ordered the departure of non-essential staff to leave the embassy in Lebanon, and Homeland Security is warning of potential cyber attacks or lone wolf attacks here in the U.S. Now let's see how state, local, and federal leaders are responding. Governor Gavin Newsom wrote on X after the attack in Iran, quote, following the president's actions in Iran, California's State Threat Assessment Center is actively monitoring for any potential impacts in California. Goes on to say that Californians should be vigilant and report suspicious activity. In a statement, Congressman Mike Levin criticized the attack, saying, quote, we cannot allow any president to entangle the United States in another deadly and open-ended war without constitutional authority. And Congressman Scott Peters wrote in a post on X, quote, San Diego knows all too well the true costs of war. I stand with all Americans in praying for the safety of American troops and for peace. We also heard from Republican Congressman Darrell Issa, who defended the actions.
Is Iran an existential threat to us? Probably not. To the peace and to the ability of the world to operate, yes. And that's been true since Jefferson went after the pirates in Tripoli. It doesn't have to be just the United States that an enemy is working, but rather the greater world that we have become an important leader in.
We heard from other congressional leaders like Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs, who wrote on social media, quote, Trump's strikes against Iran are not only unconstitutional, but also an escalation that risks bringing the U.S. into another endless and deadly war. Senator Alex Padilla wrote, before any further military action is taken, President Trump must come before Congress. It's not just a matter of process, it's a matter of law. And of course, we're going to continue to follow the very latest reaction and any other developments that occur here in the next couple of hours. Netta?